Her phone buzzed at 3 a.m., but she wasn't in our bed. The name on the screen wasn't a stranger's. It was the man who'd shaken my hand at our wedding. If this story moved, you don't forget to drop a comment, and subscribe to Revenge Forge for more unforgettable stories that speak to the heart. I'm Jason Melrose, 46, a logistics director at a freight transport company in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My life was a well-oiled engine built on grit and loyalty. A $1 million ranch house on the edge of the city, all stone and wide porches. A $220,000 salary earned steering a $55 million firm through cross-country hauls. Jenna, my wife of 7 years, was the fire in it all. At 35, she was the company's lead account manager, sharp, charismatic, the kind of woman who could lock in a client with a handshake and a smile. We met at a trade conference in Denver, her sealing a deal, me solving a routing crisis. We bonded over steak and a shared love for open roads. Married a year later under Tulsa's golden oaks, we carved out a life that felt like a victory. Our home was our refuge. Oak floors, a big kitchen, her vintage radio playing Johnny Cash on quiet nights. We'd barbecue ribs on the deck, her teasing my obsession with smoked brisket. Weekends were for fishing at Keystone Lake or catching a Sooners game. I wasn't just in love, I was anchored. Jenna was my partner, my compass. But anchors can drift, and I was too busy to notice. It started 8 months ago. Jenna's work hours stretched, late meetings, weekend trips. New accounts, she'd say, her hazel eyes flicking away, dark hair tucked behind her ear. They're high maintenance. I understood. My job was a marathon, 2 long days managing $12 million in freight contracts. I didn't push. That was my first error. The signs crept in. Her phone, once left on the counter, was now a constant shadow, passcode locked. Texts came at odd hours, her fingers quick to hide them. Just clients, she'd mutter, voice tight. She stopped wearing her wedding ring to work. It gets caught on my planner, she said. I nodded, ignoring the twist in my gut. Her perfume shifted, something bold, not the soft cedar I knew. She dressed sharper silk blouses, heels that clicked like a timer. For the bigwigs, she claimed, but bigwigs don't call at 1 a.m. The fault line cracked open 5 weeks ago. I just wrapped a 3-day audit in Kansas City, driving back to Tulsa. Got home at 9 p.m., the house dark. Jenna's purse was gone, her Lexus missing from the garage. No text, no note. I poured a whiskey, sat on the porch, and waited. The stars burned cold above. At 11:30 p.m., her car rolled in. She walked in, lips smudged, cheeks flushed. Client dinner, she said, avoiding my gaze. She smelled like gin and cologne, not hers. Good food, I asked, keeping it light. Yeah, she replied, too fast already, halfway to the bedroom. Exhausted. No touch, no look. Just the click of the door. That night, her phone buzzed at 3 a.m. She was gone, bed empty, sheets cold. The screen lit up Troy D. My chest burned. Troy Denmore, 48, our firm's operations chief. He'd been at our wedding, toasting our future, calling me a solid guy. Now his name glowed in the dark. I didn't touch the phone, but doubt turned to iron. Morning came. I made coffee, kissed her cheek, played the part. Busy day, I asked. She nodded, scrolling her phone. Troy's got me on a tight deadline. His name dropped like it was nothing. I smiled, but my mind was ablade. Troy Denmore. Divorced slick, and now my wife's boss. Too dangerous to ignore. I watched her like a hawk. Not paranoia strategy. I've spent years spotting flaws in logistics. People are no different. She took calls outside, her voice hushed. Her laptop, once open, was now password protected. She left early, came home late, always with an excuse. Troy needs this finalized, she'd say. I nodded, but my patience was thinning. I don't break, I act. So I started digging. Quietly. First her email. She'd left her tablet on the couch one night, still logged in. I found a thread with Troy buried in a folder labeled Clients. Messages from months ago. Meet me at the Mayo, 7 p.m. You're killing it in that blouse. Jason's too buried in roots to care. My jaw clenched. I screenshotted everything, saved them to a secure drive, and closed the tablet. Evidence first, rage later. Next, I checked the firm's security logs. My clearance gave me access to keycard records. Jenna's showed late-night entries to Troy's office, some at 10 p.m., long after account meetings ended. One entry 9 p.m. last week matched a night she'd claimed to be at a pitch. I pulled the camera feeds. The footage was clear, Jenna and Troy alone, her leaning over his desk, his hand on her shoulder. No audio, but the image was a knife. I saved the clips timestamped, then the money. Our joint account, $35,000 for bills and vacations, was down to $8,000. Withdrawals all recent to an account I didn't know. I called our financial advisor, Paul Whitaker, 52, a guy I'd trusted for years. "Jason," he said, voice low. "Jenna's been moving money to a private account. Started 6 months ago. $27,000 so far." I gripped the desk. "She say why?" Paul paused. "Said it was for a surprise. For you." "A surprise?" "Sure." I didn't confront her. That's a fool's move. Instead, I called my lawyer, Tom Carver, 51, a pit bull who'd handled my contracts. "Build a case," I said, sending the screenshots, footage, bank records. "I want her with nothing." Tom didn't hesitate. "Done." The first twist came at a family dinner at her parents' house in Broken Arrow, a sprawling ranch with a view of the rolling plains. Her folks, Richard and Diane Hartley, both 66, adored me, always had. Her brother Nathan, 34, was there with his wife Julia, 32. The table was lively, wine flowing, Richard praising my latest deal that saved the firm $6 million. Nathan, loose from the Merlot, nudged Jenna. "How's married life, Jason? Still the golden boy?" The room chuckled. Jenna didn't. Her face tightened, her eyes cold. "Golden," she snapped. "He's too busy with his trucks to notice me." The table froze. Diane gasped. Richard's glass paused mid-air. I kept my face blank, but my pulse roared. Jenna's voice rose. 7 years and he's never made me feel alive. Not once. The lie burned, but I stayed silent. Julia tried to diffuse it. "Jenna, come on, you're joking." Jenna's glare cut through. "I'm not. Troy Denmore knows what I need." Troy's name thrown like a dart. Richard's face reddened. Diane's eyes welled. Nathan muttered, "Jesus, Jenna." I stood my chair, scraping. "Enough," I said, voice low, steady. "You want Troy? Take him." I grabbed my jacket, walked out the door, slamming behind me. Jenna's voice chased me. "Jason, wait." I didn't stop. In the car, I didn't shake. I didn't yell. I moved. I pulled my phone, uploaded the camera footage, Jenna and Troy in his office, her text, the bank transfers to a secure cloud. Then I sent a single file to Richard, Diane, and Nathan, a screenshot of her text to Troy, "Jason's too buried in roots to care." No explanation. Let them see. I drove to a hotel, checked in, and called Tom. "File the divorce papers," I said. "Tomorrow." He paused. "You sure?" I stared at the city lights through the window, their glow sharp and unforgiving. "I'm sure." Jenna thought she'd broken me. She thought she'd won. She didn't know I was already rewriting her story. This wasn't just about her affair. It was a revenge story, and I was holding the pen. The Tulsa skyline flickered through the hotel window, its lights cold and jagged. I sat on the edge of the bed, my laptop open, Jenna's text, to Troy Denmore, "Jason's too buried in roots to care," searing my mind. The family dinner was hours ago, her public betrayal a raw wound. My phone buzzed, a text from Richard Hartley, Jenna's father. "Jason, we need to meet. Tomorrow. My office. 8 a.m. I didn't reply. The evidence I'd sent her, text, the office footage, was doing the talking. I poured a whiskey, the glass heavy in my hand. Jenna thought she'd shattered me in front of her family. She thought Troy was her escape. She was wrong. This wasn't just about her affair. It was a calculated move, and I was done being the pawn. I called Tom Carver, my lawyer. "Trace the private account," I said, "and prep a suit for Troy. Fraud, anything that holds." Tom's voice was steady. "This could spiral, Jason." I stared at the city below. "Let it." Morning came fast. I drove to the office, a steel and glass hub near the Arkansas River, ignoring the buzz of an upcoming $18 million freight deal. My team was prepping for a major client pitch, but my mind was a battlefield. My assistant, Claire Donovan, 30, handed me a coffee. "You look rough, Jason," she said, half joking. "Big meeting?" I forced a grin. "Something like that." She didn't know the war I was waging. First, I locked down my finances. I called Paul Whitaker, our financial advisor. "Freeze my accounts," I said. "The $820,000 in savings, the $600,000 in investments." Paul didn't hesitate. Jenna tried accessing the savings last week. I stalled her like you asked. My jaw tightened. How'd she get the account details? Paul's voice dropped. She had your signature. Looked legit. Forged. Jenna was playing dirty. Next, I dug into the company's security logs. My clearance gave me access to keycard records and email servers. Jenna's logs showed late-night entries to Troy's office, some as late as 11 p.m., long after client meetings ended. One entry 10 p.m. 2 weeks ago matched a night she'd claimed to be at a vendor dinner. I pulled the camera feeds. The footage was damning Jenna and Troy alone, her sitting on his desk, his hand brushing her arm. I saved the clips time-stamped to my encrypted drive. The money trail was uglier. Our joint account, now at $6,000, had lost another $2,000 overnight, wired to the same private account. I called Paul. Dig deeper, I said. He called back an hour later. It's a shell account, Jason. Registered to a holding company in Nevada. I can't trace the owner without legal muscle. A shell company. Troy's handiwork, no doubt. He wasn't just her lover, he was her accomplice. I needed more. I called Marcus Reed, 47, a private investigator I'd hired years ago to catch a client skimming profits. Marcus was a ghost, silent, ruthless. Follow Troy Denmore, I told him. Where he goes, who he meets, what he's hiding. And check his financials. Marcus didn't ask questions. Give me 36 hours, he said. I hung up, my pulse steady but my mind racing. This was a chessboard and I was moving pieces. Back at the hotel, I reviewed the evidence, texts, footage, bank transfers. Jenna's betrayal wasn't just personal, it was strategic. But why? What was their endgame? I poured another whiskey, the amber catching the light. The client pitch was tomorrow, a high-stakes presentation to a $20 million account. Jenna would be there playing the perfect wife, Troy at her side. They thought they were untouchable. They were about to learn. At 8 a.m., I met Richard at his construction firm downtown. He looked older, his gray eyes heavy. Jason, he said, shutting the door. I saw the screenshot. Diane's heartbroken. Nathan's furious. What's going on? I sat, voice calm. Jenna's cheating with Troy Denmore. She's been moving money from our joint account. I'm filing for divorce. Richard's face fell. Jesus, I didn't know. He paused, then slid a folder across his desk. This is all I have. Jenna asked me to set up an account last year. Said it was for your anniversary. I opened it, bank records, $18,000 wired to the same Nevada shell company. Richard didn't know he'd been used. I kept my tone even. She played us both, Richard. He nodded, jaw tight. I'm cutting her off. My daughter or not, this is wrong. I took the folder, my respect for him growing. Richard wasn't just a father-in-law, he was a man of principle willing to face the truth. The first twist hit that afternoon. Marcus sent a report Troy was meeting with a board member, Victor Marshall, 55, at a bar on Peoria Avenue. Victor held a $4 million stake in our firm. Marcus's photos showed them hunched over drinks, Troy passing an envelope. Financials followed. Troy had wired $150,000 from his personal account to the Nevada shell company, matching Jenna's transfers. But the bombshell was Victor's involvement. He'd received $80,000 from the same shell company last month. They weren't just stealing from me, they were skimming the company. I forwarded the report to Tom. Add Victor Marshall to the case, I said. Fraud, conspiracy, whatever sticks. Tom whistled. This could tank the firm, Jason. I didn't blink. Then it tanks. My loyalty was to my life, not a company harboring snakes. The second twist came at 5 p.m. Claire called, her voice tense. Jason, check your email. I found something in the server backups. I opened my laptop. She'd sent a forwarded email from Jenna to Troy, accidentally CC'd to a team thread Victor's in. Serve the papers at the pitch after Jason's presentation. He'll be too stunned to react. Attached was a draft of divorce papers naming me as the at-fault party for emotional neglect. The audacity burned. She wasn't just leaving me, she was framing me to take everything. I sent the email to Tom. Use this, I texted. His reply was swift. She's done. But I wasn't. I needed to know Victor's angle. I called Marcus. Dig into Marshall, I said, and check if Jenna's brother Nathan knows anything. Marcus paused. Nathan. You sure? I nodded, though he couldn't see. He's close to Jenna. He might talk. That night I met Nathan at a quiet pub in Brookside. He looked shaken, his brown hair, disheveled eyes red. Jason, I'm sorry he started. I didn't know about Troy. I cut to the chase. What's Jenna planning? And what's Victor Marshall got to do with it? Nathan's face paled. Victor. He's been advising Jenna. Said you were hiding money, cheating the firm. My blood ran cold. He told her to divorce you, make it public. Said it'd protect her. Protect her. Victor was playing her just like Troy. Nathan's voice dropped. There's more. Victor's my godfather. He's been like family since I was a kid. The twist landed like a punch. Victor Marshall wasn't just a board member. He was a Hartley family insider manipulating Jenna from the shadows. Did you know about the shell company? I asked. He shook his head, tears welling. No. But Jenna's been meeting him at his lake house. I thought it was just advice. I didn't push him. Nathan was caught in the crossfire, loyal to his sister, but horrified by the truth. I thanked him, left cash on the table, and walked out. The city was alive, but I felt its pulse like a warning. Victor was the puppet master using Jenna and Troy to gut the firm and me. But why? I needed answers before the pitch. The third twist hit at midnight. Marcus's next report landed. Victor Marshall was in debt $5 million tied to a failed real estate deal in Oklahoma City. The shell company was his lifeline, funneling company funds to cover his losses. Troy was his enforcer, Jenna his pawn. But there was a deeper layer. Victor had a silent partner, Diane Hartley, Jenna's mother. Diane had invested $250,000 in Victor's deal, thinking it was a sure thing. When it tanked, Victor promised to make it right by bleeding the firm dry. Diane didn't know the full plan, but she'd introduced Jenna to Victor, trusting him to guide her. I stared at the report, the whiskey untouched. My mother-in-law, the woman who'd baked me pecan pie, was complicit, however unknowingly. The betrayal wasn't just Jenna's. It was a family affair orchestrated by a man I'd shaken hands with at board meetings. I forwarded the report to Tom. Add Diane, I said. Limited role, but she's in. Tom didn't argue. This is a house of cards, Jason. You're about to knock it down. The pitch was 24 hours away. I checked into a new hotel, keeping my location off Jenna's radar. She'd texted me twice, Jason, we need to talk. I ignored her. She thought she was in control, planning to serve me papers in front of the firm. Troy thought he was untouchable. Victor thought he was invisible. They were all wrong. I met Tom at his office at 8 a.m. He laid out the plan file, the divorce first, freeze the joint accounts, and hit Victor with a civil suit for fraud. We've got enough to bury them, he said, sliding a folder across his desk. Divorce papers, financial records, Marcus's reports already. Serve Jenna at the pitch, I said. Before she can. Tom nodded. Done. That afternoon I got a call from Richard. Jason, Diane's devastated. She didn't know about Victor's debts. His voice cracked. She's giving you her bank records. Everything she gave Victor. I respected Richard's move. He was cleaning house no matter the cost. Thanks, I said. I'll handle it. By evening, Marcus had more. Troy was meeting Victor at a downtown lounge, finalizing their exit plan. They were selling the firm's client list, $22 million in accounts, to a rival company with Jenna's marketing data as the cherry on top. My work, her betrayal, their profit. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage anymore. I was fighting for everything I'd built. I packed for the pitch, my suit pressed, my briefcase heavy with the truth. Jenna thought she'd humiliate me tomorrow. She didn't know I was already 3 steps ahead, ready to burn their house of cards to the ground. The Tulsa morning was heavy with mist, the Arkansas River a steel ribbon outside the hotel window. I adjusted my cufflinks, my briefcase packed with divorce papers, Tom Carver's civil suit against Victor Marshall, and Marcus Reed's reports, a loaded arsenal of truth. Jenna thought she'd serve me papers at today's client pitch, shaming me in front of the firm. Troy Denmore thought he'd cash out millions. Victor thought he'd outsmarted everyone. They were about to hit a wall. The pitch was at the DoubleTree, a polished venue downtown. The room buzzed with execs, clients, and staff, all there for a $20 million freight contract. Jenna was across the floor, poised in an emerald dress, charming a client with Troy at her side. His hand grazed her elbow, his smile too slick. I stayed near the stage, sipping water, my face a mask. Claire Donovan, my assistant, caught my eye. Jason, you good? She asked, voice low. I nodded. Never better. She didn't buy it, but she didn't push. Marcus's latest report had cracked the case wide open. Victor wasn't just skimming the firm, he was masterminding a takeover. He'd been funneling our client list and Jenna's account data to a rival firm, Prairie Logistics, for $25 million. Troy was his dealmaker, Jenna, his unwitting pawn, her data transfers masked as client reports. But the real twist, Diane Hartley, Jenna's mother, wasn't just an investor in Victor's failed venture. She'd wired $300,000 of her retirement fund to Prairie, believing Victor's promise of a 12x return. Diane thought she was saving her family's legacy. Instead, she was fueling their betrayal. I called Tom at 7 a.m., my voice steady. Add Prairie Logistics to the suit, I said, sending Marcus's files. And Diane, limited role, but she's in. Tom paused. Jason, this could ruin the Hartleys. You sure? I stared at the river, its current relentless. They made their choices. The first twist hit at 9 a.m. Claire texted me. Check the server logs. Someone's been in your routing models. I stepped into a quiet hallway, opened my laptop, and logged in. A folder, my proprietary logistics algorithms worth $15 million if sold, had been downloaded yesterday. The IP traced to Victor's home office, but the login was Troy's. They weren't just after the client list, they wanted my life's work. I texted Marcus, confirm Victor's access to my models. Now. His reply was instant, got it. Photos of Troy at Victor's lake house handing over a USB. Timestamped last night. I forwarded the evidence to Tom. Add theft of intellectual property, I said. The trap was tightening, but the why still gnawed at me. Why risk it all? I needed answers before the pitch. At 10 a.m. Jenna approached, her smile forced. Jason, can we talk? She asked, eyes darting. I nodded, leading her to a balcony overlooking the city. The air was thick, the skyline humming below. She started her script. I've been unhappy. I think we need a break. Before she could finish, a man in a suit stepped forward, Tom's process server. Jenna Melrose, you've been served, he said, handing her the envelope. Her face drained of color as she opened it, my divorce papers backed by texts, footage, bank records, and Victor's fraud. What is this? She stammered, hands trembling. I leaned in, voice like ice. You humiliated me in front of your family. You stole from me. You're done, Jenna. Her eyes widened. Jason, I didn't. I cut her off. Troy's looting the firm. Victor's selling us out. And your mother, she's funding it. She froze, the truth landing like a blow. You're lying, she whispered, voice breaking. I stepped back. Read the papers. Back inside, Troy was at the bar, his posture stiff. Victor was schmoozing clients, his laugh too loud. I handed Claire a flash drive. Give this to Tom if things go south, I said. She nodded, no questions. I trusted her, she'd seen the firm's rot before I did. The second twist came at 11 a.m. before my presentation. Marcus called, his voice urgent. Victor's not the top dog. Prairie's CEO, Richard Conway, 62, is pulling the strings. He's been blackmailing Victor, threatened to expose his debts unless he delivered the firm. My mind raced. Conway, a Tulsa legend, had dined at our table years ago, praising my routing models. Now he was the shadow behind this mess. Marcus sent proof emails between Conway and Victor outlining the takeover. Conway had promised Victor $7 million and a board seat at Prairie. My models were the price. I forwarded the emails to Tom. Add Conway, I said. Racketeering, extortion, whatever fits. Tom didn't flinch. This is a war, Jason. You're fighting a titan. I gripped the phone, the room's hum fading. Then I'll win. I took the stage at 11:30 a.m., the room silent. 200 eyes on me, Jenna near the back clutching the envelope, Troy beside her, Victor at the front, his smile twitching. I gripped the podium, voice calm. Our firm thrives on integrity, I began. Integrity in our systems, our people, our future. I locked eyes with Victor. But when integrity fails, there's no recovery. His smile faltered. Jenna shifted, uneasy. Troy's smirk faded. The crowd clapped, oblivious, but the air shifted. I stepped down, the applause fading. Jenna followed, her heels clicking. Jason, please, she begged, grabbing my arm. I shook her off. You made your choice. She teared up, but I was done with her tears. Troy approached, his face tight. What's going on, Melrose? I smiled cold. You'll see. He backed off, sensing the noose. The third twist hit at noon. Richard Hartley pulled me into a side room, Diane at his side, her face ashen. Jason, Richard said, voice heavy, Diane's got something to say. Diane's hands trembled as she handed me a USB. Victor lied to me, she whispered. I thought I was investing in a startup. These are my records, everything I gave him. The USB held bank statements, emails, proof of her $300,000 transfer to Prairie. She didn't know it was funding a takeover, but her guilt was real. I'll testify, she said. I owe you that. I took the USB, my respect for Richard and Diane holding firm. They were victims too, played by Victor's lies. Thank you, I said, and meant it. Richard nodded. End this, Jason. I would. With Jenna's texts, Marcus's reports, Diane's records, and the firm's logs. Tom had a case to bury Victor, Troy, and Conway. We filed the civil suit at 1 p.m. fraud, conspiracy, theft, extortion, naming all three with Prairie Logistics as a co-defendant. Criminal charges were next: money laundering, racketeering. Tom estimated Victor's exposure at $15 million, Conway's at $10 million, Troy's at $5 million plus jail time. Jenna called the next morning, her voice broken. Jason, I didn't know about Victor or Conway. Troy said you were hiding money. I kept my tone flat. You believed him over me. She sobbed. I'll testify. Against them all. I didn't trust her, but her testimony was leverage. Talk to Tom, I said, and hung up. She'd moved to a cheap apartment, her career stalled, her family distant. Troy was under investigation, his assets frozen. Victor was holed up at his lake house, his empire crumbling. I sold the ranch house for $1.3 million, clearing $1 million. The firm offered me a promotion, CFO, $400,000 a year. I declined. The company was poisoned, Victor's shadow too deep. Instead, I took a job with Summit Freight, a top firm in Oklahoma City. The offer, $480,000, head of operations, full control of their national routes. I packed my bags, left Tulsa's Oaks behind, and drove south. Oklahoma City was a clean slate, open plains, a downtown loft with a view of the Bricktown Canal. I started running again, the trails clearing my head. Summit's clients, some from my old firm, trusted me to manage their billions. I built models stronger than ever, my algorithms safe, my name untarnished. At a logistics summit, I met Emily Harper, 42, a supply chain consultant with a dry wit and sharp mind. We talked over beers, not about pain or betrayal, but about efficiency, markets, the future. It wasn't love, just a connection, something honest. I didn't push. Time had taught me patience. Victor's trial was set for next month. Jenna, Diane, and Richard would testify, their statements sealing his fate. Troy took a plea, ratting out Conway to save himself. Prairie Logistics was under federal scrutiny, its stock tanking. The machine was broken piece by piece. But one question lingered sharp as the Oklahoma wind. Conway's emails hinted at a deeper player, someone above him, whispering promises of power. Was it real, or just the ghost of betrayal, making me chase shadows? I stood on my loft's balcony, the city stretching dark and endless. I dismantled their plan, rebuilt my life, walked away stronger. But was it enough? Did I need to hunt the truth or let it fade? What would you have done? Chase the shadow or let the past stay buried like what you heard? Hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Revenge Forge, because the next story might just be your favorite one yet.